Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about the demise of Hollywood, or at least Hollywood as we've known it. The box office not doing very good this weekend, and it doesn't look like it's going to be doing very good anytime soon. Maybe Deadpool and Wolverine. Maybe. This year is looking pretty sparse. And, you know, we're going to talk about this. There were some major misfires last year. I think this year we're going to have bigger misfires. But this weekend, Fall Guy came out, which I forgot was even a thing. The only reason I knew it was a thing was because of the Beavis and Butthead red carpet premiere.
See, no, I remember the old TV show because my dad used to watch it. So I kind of wanted to see it, but I don't know if it's a theater. I want to go to the theater to see it, or it's a matter of I'll just wait till it comes to streaming.
Didn't they try to reboot the Fall Guy before?
I think they did.
Like as a show or something?
I don't know, but I'm assuming like this is because it's a stunt guy. I'm assuming this has something to do with the Fall Guy. But yeah, so it didn't do. I mean, it's still only. Well, I guess it's Sunday. So they said that it's going to have a 28.5 million opening weekend in domestic and 65.4 million global.
Yeah, and this is Ryan Gosling, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like the it guy right now, and it just didn't go well. People just don't want to go to the theater to see this movie. I'm sorry, and you know it's weird because the Phantom Menace re-release came out, and that actually did pretty okay.
Yeah, I guess it did 8.1 million opening and 14.5 million global. But what's funny to me, what was weird to me was on Twitter, they were promoting it as the Star Wars was like beating, like, you know, destroying Fall Guy. And it's like, not really. It's just an old movie from 25 years ago that people have already seen. I mean.
Yeah, what's interesting about this, though, is the re-release of The Phantom Menace did better than any of the Pixar re-releases. And this is a movie was when it came out, first everybody loved it, then they sat and thought about it, and then everybody decided they hated it, which is so weird because I remember being on the Force.net forums, and everybody was like, yeah, we love this movie. It was really good. A little bit different than the original trilogy, but yeah, it's good. And then the media started with the whole Jar Jar Binks being racist and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was like, the movie sucked. We hate it.
I didn't like it. Sorry.
If only we could get Star Wars away from George Lucas, it would be good again. Then the monkey's paw.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really care for it that much. That being said, it was still infinitely better than some of the stuff Disney's put out. So
yeah, the prequels, I think they get a lot of hate, but in hindsight, you can see that George Lucas had an idea of where things were going. It didn't feel like he was just making it up as he was going along.
I think George Lucas left his own devices gets boring. Yeah. But I also think that they relied too heavily on special effects and not sets to see, look what we can do. And I think it takes some of the soul out of it.
Yeah.
Now Disney just got lazy and doesn't try at all, but you know what I mean? I think it lost some of the soul because everything was just so fakey.
Green screen.
Yes.
It was like Terrence Stamp said that he wasn't actually acting against Natalie Portman. He was like looking at a broomstick or something, and then they just like digitally inserted her later, and it was like, that's weird. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you can tell on some level, you know, not subconsciously you can tell. But anyway, they released it. I think they had a cool R2-D2 popcorn bucket at AMC too, which I'm bummed.
$55 or something like that.
Yeah, but I still would have bought it. But the AMC by us closed down. So anyway,
well, that's where I want to go with this because I think we're going to see a lot of theaters close down.
Yeah, because I don't think the box office looks that strong this year. I think Deadpool and Wolverine's going to bring it. Inside Out 2, maybe. I have to see more. Anxiety, I think people are just like, why? And then people keep pointing out in the comments, anxiety is an emotion. It's a feeling, but it's not really an emotion.
It's an identity and a flag.
I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just saying. And I mean, they have the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes they keep pushing. It might do okay. I just don't think there's a lot of Planet of the Apes fans. I just don't. But I could be completely wrong. I have no desire to see it.
I watched the Tim Burton one, and I didn't watch any of the new ones.
I don't watch any of them because I don't like them.
I didn't watch any of them. So I don't even know. I watched the old ones. They were kind of for me, you know, it was past my time, but they were curiosity. They're fun to watch on Saturday afternoons or whatever. But Like I was
I
never
think fun's
huge.
pushing it, but you know.
Yeah, I was. Well, it was funny because it was like, oh, like monkeys on horses with guns. That's cool. You know, you don't see that
their
every day.
suits were bad.
But they used to run them like in the Saturday after the cartoons. They would have Planet of the Apes movies or Godzilla movies or cheesy kung fu movies. It was like one of those that would just run them like, you know, from like 1 o'clock on. They do Wide World of Sports on ABC. See, I know all this. Wide World of Sports after the cartoons, and then they would just go into some cheesy 70s movies. And yeah, it was like, okay, that's.
I just don't think it's going to do extremely well. I could be wrong though. I didn't think Avatar was going to do that great either, but it did overseas. And it might be another case of this might, you know, be amazing overseas.
They might like monkeys with guns overseas.
They might. So, I mean, you definitely cannot rule out the overseas box office. I don't know. But Star Wars Phantom Menace on a re-release for the anniversary did pretty well.
Yeah, again, this is the Phantom Menace, which until Disney Star Wars came along was the most derided of the prequels, which I don't understand because honestly, I would say Attack of the Clones is objectively worse than the Phantom Menace. I think in some ways because the whole love story thing, like I don't believe these two ever hooked up. Like it just doesn't. Really
there's not much chemistry there.
Surfing on a space cow.
Yeah, that was very weird.
You know, it was like, I mean, I love the battle at the end, but some of it was just really wonky. But
I don't know. But anyway, so that's going on right now. So the box office isn't doing that hot. And then I want to talk about over on Deadline. They're talking about, they do this every year, the most valuable blockbuster tournament, okay, from 2023.
Yeah.
So interestingly enough, I think we did mention this, you know, in one of the videos prior, but we're going to talk about a little bit better here on this. Interestingly enough, the only one that got in the top 10 was Guardians 3, and it was number 9. We don't have number 1 and 2 yet. I'm thinking it's probably gonna be like Barbie and maybe Mario Brothers. Barbie will definitely be 1. And then I think number 3 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Number 4 was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. 5 was Oppenheimer. 6 was, Wonka.
Yeah, that surprised me. Wonka, everybody thought Wonka was going to be this massive box office bomb, and it actually wound up doing really well.
7 is Taylor Swift's Eras Tour.
That doesn't surprise me.
These all beat Guardians of the Galaxy, guys. Number 8 was Five Nights at Freddy's that released on the same day as it did digitally.
Yeah, that one was shocking too, because look, Five Nights at Freddy's is years past its prime. But the movie was surprisingly good. I took the kids to go see it. It was surprisingly good. It was out on digital, saying that you could watch it for free, right? You could watch it.
So you get their subscription. I think,
yeah, but you could watch it a lot cheaper. But people still turned out because the showing we went to go see, there were a lot of people there for it.
It's because there's a movie that's worth going to the box office where people will go. Okay, and number 10 was a flippin' Paw Patrol movie.
Paw Patrol.
Okay. So, but number 9 was this Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And it's interesting because you go through it, and one of the things they do on here is they break this down by this. Now, this is all estimates. I want to make sure I make that clear. This is they're estimating they're guessing what they think some of these expenses and stuff are from what they know.
Yeah, we're going to have to be clear too, because people are going to be like, well, I know Guardians made more than Freddy's. We're talking profit, right? We're talking like just because a movie made more money doesn't mean it actually made more money for the studio.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so example, here we have the domestic box office, 359 million. International, 486.6 million. Total, 845.6. Okay, then theatrical, I think, is after the theaters take their cut. So I think that's what comes up then here was $374 million was their cut of the theatrical. Okay, now you go down to the expenses, right? But the total expenses were $550 million. So if you go this by theatrical, their cut, they lost money. But they're guessing with home entertainment, television, and streaming, they added another 300 million to it. And then they end up coming ahead, 124 million. If they didn't have the home TV and the television streaming, the home entertainment, they would have not been to the good by 124 million. And that's actually really sad.
Yeah, because people actually, now here's the thing too, we have to realize, I mean, this is going to hurt Hollywood too. We're getting rid of physical releases. People are leery about buying digital copies because there's no guarantee they're going to be there forever. Right.
So if you took the home entertainment and that out of it and just went with television and streaming, then you're going to be down to, like 100, you would be down to 4 million.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, if you take out the home, the entertainment and television, just by a theatrical release standpoint, it lost money.
Yeah.
Without it, you would have been the whole like 175 million or something like that.
Yeah. So, and we're talking a movie that brought in, I mean, everybody looks at these numbers and like, wow, this movie made so much money. It brought in $845 million. We're talking almost $1 billion movie, the closest thing that Marvel's gotten to $1 billion in a long time. And this movie didn't make that much profit.
No, I mean, because you figure it costs so much. And people keep forgetting theaters take like half the money.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's another, I'm like, you know, part of me is like, are the big studios trying to choke the theaters out so they don't have to give up half the money? I mean, Disney,
well, then you're not going to have places for people to go see your movie unless you just release it on
that's
digital.
What they're trying to do, and it didn't go very well, but I could totally see them being like, oh, yeah, well, theaters went out of business. Well, I guess you'll just have to buy the movie from us at, you know, $50 a pop.
But people aren't going to. That's the thing. They'll just wait till later. Now, Deadline also had the bottom 5, okay? And 4 of them were Disney. Mm-hmm. So in the bottom 5, the worst film performer of last year was The Marvels.
Yep.
They estimated the loss at $237 million. Again, here's the breakdown. Domestic, $84.5 million. International, $121.6 million. Worldwide, $206.1 million, which is really bad. And then they estimated expenses at $455 million. So till you get the theatrical cut, and then the theatrical was $88 million. Home entertainment, television streaming, $218 was total revenue, and they still lost $237.
So here's the thing, though, too. We know that these companies, especially Disney, cook the books, and so they're probably like, oh, we ran it on, you know, Freeform, or we ran it on whatever. So we're gonna put that money toward, you know, expenses. Basically, we're gonna try to.
They'll try to offset it in the books as much as possible.
Offset it as much as possible. That's what I think they did with Ms. Marvel, the show. They put it on Freeform or on ABC on TV, so they could offset be like, oh, this was a part of ABC's production budget.
Well, that's what they did. That's what they got. One of the reasons they got rid of Chapek, because that's what he started to do to try to offset the losses to Disney Plus, and then they came at him for it.
And the CFO, you know, she got gone too.
Yeah. So, if you take away the home entertainment and television streaming, there's another 130 million gone. So it would have been like 367 million loss. You know, the theatrically only, it lost a ton of money. The next to worst one was The Flash.
Oh, that one was
and they estimated it lost 155 million. The next one, the third worst, I guess, is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. It lost 143 million by their estimates, bringing in 384 worldwide, the box office, but the theatrical revenue was 173. Then the home entertainment and television added another 200. Their expenses were 516 million. So it's in the whole 143 million at least. If you go just by theatrical, it would be a lot worse.
I'm sitting here looking at this and I'm like, this was supposed to be like the magnum opus for Indiana Jones. This was supposed to be a swan song, and it didn't even break $500 million in today's money for Indiana Jones. Like Crystal Skull did better how many years ago? But then that turned off the audience to the potential of there being another one. They're like, that movie was bad. Well, this is worse. So
of the ones at the bottom, it was the one that made the most money.
That's
wild.
And
but because of all the expenses, it was, you know, not third place, third from the bottom. But it made the most money. None of these movies broke 400 million. None of them. Wish, which was Disney's big 100th anniversary movie, it's in the hole. It was the second, if you're going to the bottom 5, it would be number, 2. If you're going by the bottom 5, Marvel's the 5th worst. Then we had The Flash be the 4th worst, Indiana Jones the 3rd worst. This would be the 2nd worst. It had a loss of 131 million by their accounting. It only made 253.2 million at the box office. Theatrical, they guessed they got about 106 million out of it. With their home entertainment, television streaming, there's another 125 million added. So it could have been a lot worse. Their total expenses are 362 million, and they're guessing it'd be about 131 million in the whole. If you take away the other stuff and you put that back on there, just theatrical, it would be like 250 million in the hole. So there's that. And then the one that it was actually surprisingly above them all, was Haunted Mansion.
Well, it didn't cost as much.
That's what I could think of.
Yeah, and again, this is going back to the other list so people are clear. We're not talking total box office take. We're talking profit. Okay.
Right.
Freddy's was like a $25 million movie.
Right. That's yes. So Haunted Mansion on here's their like losses and stuff. Or everywhere it was 117.5 million was the entire box office globally. That's not good.
It was they did that movie dirty.
They did. They should have put it at Halloween time. I don't know why the hell they put it in. I mean, I know why. I think they were doing it in the summer because they were worried about competition in the fall. They also didn't know what was going on with the strikes. But I also think they did it too early because they were getting ready to start selling their Halloween merchandise at like Lowe's and stuff that was Haunted Mansion themed. I think they were trying to drum up sales, and they just made a stupid move. It should have been put in Halloween time.
The production company behind it, they had a GoFundMe. You're working on a Disney movie, working on one of the most beloved attractions, and he had to put a GoFundMe up to pay his people.
Now, see, I liked the movie.
I liked it too. I thought it was
I took so much crap for liking it, but I did.
No, I will die on that hill. I mean, regardless of what the people associate with the movie, if they were out there saying dumb stuff that were politically charged up, whatever, the movie itself was fine. It was a hell of a lot better than the Eddie Murphy version. It actually felt like the ride. It felt like the attraction.
Yeah, it was more like the attraction. But I mean, a lot of people like the Eddie Murphy version too. But you can like both. You don't have to like pick one or the other. Anyway, they got 53 million as theatrical out of it. Then they got 90 million gains on the home entertainment, television, and streaming, putting it and their overhead was 260 million. So it took it at a loss of 117 million, which it could have been closer to like 100 or 207 million if you don't count the home entertainment and television and streaming. So these are all the ones that lost, and 4 of them were Disney, and only one of the Disney movies made the top 10, and it was number 9. And it was Guardians, the one movie that did well last year.
Yeah, but look how much money it had to make to even turn that paltry of a profit margin.
It's just insane. I'm here real quick. I'll go look at the Freddy's. You said about Five Nights at Freddy's. I can pull the numbers up for you according to their estimates. Here. Their estimates were the worldwide was 291.5 million because it was released on streaming simultaneously. So this one, I think you actually can count the streaming and mean it. Because, a lot of those streaming ones, I'm like, where are you getting this number from? Here, people probably subscribe just to watch it.
Just to watch. Because it was cheaper to subscribe and cancel even than it was to buy a ticket to the theater.
Right. So the total revenues for them was 302 million. Mm-hmm. But their total expenses were 141 million. So they came to the good 161 million.
Yeah. So that's what we're talking about. Just to be clear, because I know we're going to get people like, well, Freddy's didn't make more than Guardians. No, it made more profit.
It doesn't. We're not saying, we're not talking about how much they made. We're talking about how much the studio made
profit.
Yes.
And this is what is going to happen. This is what I think is going to happen with Hollywood. And we've already had Disney more or less say this, that they're going to focus on fewer movies. Some other studios have already said that they're going to do cheaper movies. They're going to do,
Disney said they're going to cut costs too. They're going to have to do things cheaper.
But look at, okay, so you have Freddy's and you have, Godzilla -1, and you've got these movies that and before that we had Everything Everywhere All at Once, which was done on kind of a shoestring budget, but
they're amazing movies.
They were
unique and they were fantastic.
You have to be more creative when you're dealing with budgetary constraints. It's not like, oh, okay, well, we're just going to be lazy and big space battle. Okay, VFX people, it's your job to do that.
Just Star Wars. Let's go from Star Wars because we started with Star Wars and with Star Wars. The original Star Wars, they were like piecing together stuff and like using garbage and stuff like that to do the sets and stuff, trying to keep it as cheap as they could because they were over budget and everything else. And they didn't have much to work with. So it was like inventive and it was creative and it was fun and it was thinking outside the box. And it just like an epic adventure that just swept you up in it. And everything was just really creative and it caught your imagination, like Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's very creative and it's fun because it's so creative.
Yeah. So it's so weird too. Like, you think about back in the day, they used to have these behind the scenes, making of the movies. And it was always fascinating to see how they made the practical effects and the stuff they would do to come up with these really cool shots because, we didn't have computers back then. Now it's just like, oh yeah, well, we rendered it on the computer and on the computer farm.
Beetlejuice too, aren't they just using practical effects?
That's what I heard. I heard they're only going to use practical effects and stop motion because that's what Tim Burton likes. So.
Squid King is really into, movies. It's like making stuff. And he only ever wants to do practical effects. He likes to watch the cheaper films that are like the horror movies and stuff because he likes to look at the ones with practical effects. Because they're more interesting.
It's more interesting because, again, you're kind of forced to be more creative. I'm not saying it's easier, harder, better, whatever. It's just that I think right now, just do it as CGI, and especially these big budget Disney movies, you look at them and they all look like high-end video games.
I think it translates better. Okay, look at the real sets in the original trilogy and then look at the prequel trilogy. They went back to real sets for the sequel trilogy because the prequel trilogy didn't have that feel. That didn't have that practical effect feel. It just felt flat in places to me.
Yeah, and look at Lord of the Rings.
The big sets. Yes.
But yeah, those sets, I mean, they were dealing with a shoestring budget. It's hard to believe because the Lord of the Rings movies made ridiculous money, but it was a dicey proposition. The reason they filmed them all back to back was, if they just did one movie and it didn't do very well, then, what do we do? And this way they could share because it was one continuous story. So they had everybody there. They had all the actors there. They had all the props there. They had all but they, Weta Workshop did so much on a shoestring back then too. And, it looks like, compare that to The Hobbit. The Hobbit, got a bigger budget because Lord of the Rings made more money, but everything looked fake in CGI.
To me, I just think that sometimes the most creative and fun films don't have the biggest budgets. Yeah. And it's just a good movie. And I don't know. That's just me. So anyway, there you go. There's the losses. Disney did really bad last year, really, really, really bad last year at the box office. Even the one movie they said they probably made money on looks like they barely eked out money. And it depends on how you look at it. If you don't count streaming, nebulous numbers like streaming and stuff like that, it might not make money at all.
They're probably I don't know how they even calculate that. Probably this is how many minutes watched on.
Well, this is deadline estimates. They're estimates. I want to make sure that, again, this is estimates. This isn't the actual numbers, but it's probably true.
Yeah. So I think we're looking at, I can't overstate this enough, and it sounds like we're beating the drum or whatever, but Hollywood is going to fundamentally change forever. It's never going to go back to the free money period. Box office is going to change if it even exists.
But it might be better off for it. Not the box office, because I think we still need to keep theaters, but Hollywood not having to be creative again and having the budget constraints. They might be better off for it.
I think so. I think that you get to a place where, and we talked about this with people that are multi-billionaires, you get to a place where the money doesn't even mean anything anymore. You can just do where the hell you want because the money doesn't mean. Now you're oh crap, well, we have an actual budget we got to stick with, and it's got to make a profit because we don't have this infinite amount of money that we can just keep dipping into all this venture capital. We can't do that anymore. So yeah, we got to make it count. So we got to make movies that count, and that make money again, and people oh my God, imagine that.
Yeah.
Like a real business. Imagine that.
Are we going to wrap this up?
We're going to wrap it up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.